Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits, and today is Sunday, November 10th, 2019. I forgot to look up the date. Oh well, I figured it out. Anyway, how have you all been the past couple of weeks? It's only been really about a week and a half, so you're catching me a little bit sooner than usual, but we're getting back onto schedule after the immense amount of travel that I was partaking in the past couple of months, but things are slowing down just a bit. Not completely halting, but slowing down a little bit. So anyway, I hope you all have been fabulous. We are getting ready for some snow. It's been relatively nice the last 2 days in the 50s here in Illinois, in central Illinois, where I'm from. And but it looks like it's going to drop down tonight and there's going to be snow tomorrow, which is a little disappointing because Andy has to travel to Indianapolis tomorrow morning, bright and early tomorrow morning, to be part of a support system for a doctor's appointment with his dad, and his brother will be there as well. So barring any blizzard situations, he'll be going there tomorrow, but I'll be working in the studio and watching it snow through the storefront window. It's like being inside a snow globe. It's kind of fun. Anyway, I'm rambling. It is about 5 o'clock on Sunday evening. Andy and I worked most of today at the studio, and we just got back a little bit ago, and I had to draw winners, get prizes together, and finish up show notes. So here we are. So I think I have everything with me. Let's go into what's been happening in the past week or so. So last time we spoke, it was Wednesday. We had just gotten back from our big, long 2-week trip, and we were furiously trying to prep for our next event, as well as getting out trunk shows. And so we left on Friday morning at a decent time, not too early. And we drove down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which is a suburb of Nashville. We couldn't get in there till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so we didn't have to leave till, 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. We took our time, and we got down to Murfreesboro, and it was a nice facility. They had one large building with 2 sides. They had an arena, which we were in, and then there was a barn attached to the back of the arena with a few outdoor vendors. They were outside but covered. So we had a few hours on Friday night to set up, and we got most of the way set up. We kind of had to reconfigure how we do things because we kind of had a big corner area. And so we got some dinner, chilled, relaxed, got up in the morning, finished setting up, and it was a one-day event. It was a great event. Thank you to those of you who came out and said you enjoyed the podcast. There was one lovely viewer. Maybe I got your name. I don't know. Everything, it gets so jumbled all the time. But she was a lovely viewer, and she came up, and I could kind of see her side-eyeing me as she was looking at things, and she came up and she said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I said, "Of course. I'm not usually a hugger, but if you warn me, if you give me fair warning, we're all good." But it's like when you want to be touchy and feely, that's not usually me, but a simple hug I can do. I'm okay with that. So, and I've gotten better at doing, running the business and doing shows and things like that. It's warmed me heart a little bit. So anyway, she was adorable. Everyone else who came out, thank you so much. We got to see our friend Stacy Knits, whom we went to Rhinebeck with. She is from that area, so she got to stop in and say hi, which is great. I got to see Joe, and Joe's going to be helping out Leading Men Fiber Arts a little bit, and you'll see some of that coming in the next month or two, a little bit of that, as well as some old friends and things like that. But yeah, it was a great event. We then tore down pretty quickly on Saturday night, and we drove like an hour and a half or so. It was about a 6.5 hour drive, I think. So we got a little bit out of town, but then we stayed the night and we drove the rest of the way back on Sunday morning. We were back at a decent time on Sunday, and other than printing off receipts and a few other administrative stuff, we took the day off on Sunday, which was really nice. I should say the afternoon. And yes, it is pank drank time. I've drank probably half of this already while doing show notes, but anyway, if you're not a returning viewer, I go over my pank drink recipe in the past few episodes, so I won't dull you with that right now. But anyway, and so then this past week we have just been working. As I stated last episode when I had my day off, we are still going with a day off a week. So I had Wednesday off, which was really nice. I actually got kind of bored towards the end of the day. And wanted to go into work, but I didn't. I got some crafting done, and I took a nap, and I did some cleaning around the house. I cleaned the bathroom. So much fun, let me tell you. And yeah, so that's been about it. We worked a half day yesterday, and then I ran some errands, and we had to take Corn Dog into the vet yesterday morning, and by we, I mean Andy, because I did it last time, and we had to give Corn Dog another one of his, it's not an allergy shot. It's a shot to help them not itch so much, which he just got done with that shot, and prednisone as well as antibiotics to make his back paws better and his front paws. And we noticed he was very, very red, and he was starting to lick at his paws again. So we're like, okay, it's time to get him a shot. It is not cheap. It takes like 1 minute, but $60 later, let's hope this is not an every month occurrence, which they said it could be. But we don't want to see the little buddy in pain, or annoyed, or, licking his paws down to nothing, because that's just not good. So anyway, I'm rambling. Let's get on with the show. I've got plenty of yarn and knitted things to show you, as well as giveaways and prizes and things you can enter, and let's move on. So, moving on, I have nothing taking about this episode. I did not finish any knitting. I'm sorry. It happens, though. So let's move on to what's performing. First up for me is my Alpine blanket, and I am not going to stand up this episode to show you, but I worked on this last night, and I only have 3 balls left, so I am on the 26th ball. And this is knit using Sirdar Alpine in the Brindle colorway on a size 15 US 10 millimeter needle. This will be a 30 ball blanket, and it will run from floor to about as tall as I am. I'm about 5'7.5", if you want to be technical. Us short guys, I'm not going to finish that statement. Anyway, so yeah, it's super soft. The dogs were loving on it yesterday because, of course, it's so big now, like, it overflows to the side of me while I'm working on it. But yeah, it's super easy. Just garter stitch on a size 15 US 10 millimeter needle. So, and by 30 balls, it is 30 balls, but they are 36 yards a piece. So anyway, moving on. Next up for me is my Plaid Please by Amy Miller. I'm doing this as part of a knit along with my local yarn store, which is Les Moutons Rouge Knittery in Bloomington, Illinois. And it's simple stockinette using a lace weight mohair silk or something comparable. And then you use a crochet hook to do the vertical striping up as you're going. So I need 7 stripe sections before it's done. And as you can see, I've done 4. This is knit using Rowan Kid Silk Haze and Cream. Trance is the blue and Candy Girl is the pink. Candy Girl will also be the vertical striping that goes up. As you can see, yes, I did mess up on the second stripe, but I will mimic that on the sixth stripe as well. So that's going. It just sheds like the dickens. That's the only downside. But it's super light. And that's knit on a size 6 US 4mm needle, and I am using my Signatures Fix Circulars. They now have their convertibles, but I bought these prior to them moving to their convertibles. Next up for me is my Stranger Strings Wrap by Julia Decker. I'm using Leading Men Fiber Art Showstopper in Darkest Hour and Showstopper Gradient in OMG Neons, as well as a Glow Stick Showstopper Mini. And last time we spoke, I believe I was at the halfway point. And now I am about a quarter of the way past the halfway point. So here's the first half and the second half. It's all done with slip stitches and garter and stockinette stripes. Pretty darn simple, but yet very effective. And something's going on over here. What's going on? Ooh, I got a pulled stitch. I thought it was a slip stitch. But it's not a slip stitch, it's just pulled. So we'll stretch that back out and bring it to the back side. There we go. So this uses 7 mini skeins as well as 2 skeins of a main color. We will be kitting this up as soon and offering the pattern in our booth. As soon as I'm finished with the sample, I will order patterns and begin kitting that. And the last thing I'm going to show you today is Riverine, and this is by Teresa Gaffey, using Shibui Pebble, Silk Cloud, and Sema in the 2002 colorway Graphite. I picked this up at Woolen Company in St. Charles, Illinois, on my first visit there. And it's a wonderful wrap, knit on the bias using garter and stockinette. And it plays with the texture of the yarns to give its effect. So it's slow going, but I have finished the pebble, and I've started working in. Last time I just started with the Silk Cloud, and I've gotten a few stripes in with the Silk Cloud. So you can see the Silk Cloud is much more open and airy right there. That's a mohair silk blend, compared to the Pebble, which is this stockinette section on here. And then the Sema is the garter sections throughout the entire wrap. So it's not big, but it'll be a nice, light, wrap when it's around. So, and that's knit on a size 5 US, which is a 3.75mm needle. And I am using a gift that I got from one of my housemates at Rhinebeck. From Slip Stitch Studios, I got a little yarn cozy, and I'm actually using that on the Silk Cloud because it was kind of yarn barfing everywhere. So I put it in there, and it kind of just, I pull from the center, and it pulls out, and I don't have to worry about any yarn barf all over the place. And that's that. So that's what I've been working on these past week and a half. I was going to say 2 weeks. But, no worries. I'm going to get stuff going, knitting, doing things. But I've also been home, so I've been doing other crafting as well. This straw is always so much longer than I think it is, and I'm like, ugh. I'm going to impale myself one day. All right. What's in rehearsal? What am I going to be casting on? Once I'm done with the Stranger Strings wrap, I'm going to be casting on the Adventuring Wrap by Amber O'Brien. This is her new Advent pattern. She had 3 new patterns come out using Advent minis this year. And as you know, last year I wanted to play along with the knit-alongs, but I didn't want to purchase into a complete Advent set with all the cute packaging and the full skein at the end. So what I did is I came up with, it's not an Advent set where you get to see all 25. They're all mini skeins. They're not prettily packaged, but yet you get a beautiful combo so that you can knit along at a cheaper price. And guess what? I'm not going to let you down this year. I have put together a 2019 it's not an Advent set, and I don't have those to show you today, but I will bring those up again later. We will be putting those up for purchase on November 15th at 10 a.m. I have 24 sets. I dyed 25, but lo and behold, I need one. So I'm going to be doing the Adventuring wrap. This particular version has fringe, and it also comes with a complementing cowl to use the leftover minis. The other version was beautiful, and it's very Amba with her lace with garter stripes wrap, but the garter stripes were to use a full skein that you get on the 25th day, and mine's not set up that way, so I went with the other option, which I think is great. It looks a little bit different than what we did last year or what other Amba wraps that I have in our booth as a sample. So I'm going to be casting that on as soon as I finish Stranger Strings. I got to finish that sample before I can start another one. All right, let's move along to behind the scenes. What have I been spinning? I finished some spinning, and y'all, I know it's been forever and a day. I could not believe that I have been working on this since July. That's 7. This is the 7th month. This is the 11th month. That's 4 months. Granted, now it was an 8-ounce braid, but still, it was a really long time. So, I was spinning some Hidden Valley Farm and Woolen Mill, 75% Coopworth, 25% mohair roving in the Cypress Moss colorway that I picked up at an event that is now defunct. It was, what was it called? Now I can't remember it. Something Midwest. Midwest Fiber and Folk Art Fair, something. But I picked up this ball of roving for like $17, and I vend alongside of them now all the time. In fact, they're usually right behind us at Shepherd's Harvest. So now that I've used both balls that I picked up there, maybe I can pick up a ball this May when I'm at Shepherd's Harvest, but we'll see. But anyway, it was almost an 8-ounce bump, and I got 2 different skeins. I thought I had weighed things in half, but because it was a roving ball, I kind of just went, okay, and I spun until I had half of the weight, and then I spun the rest on another bobbin to do a 2-ply. Well, I had a lot left over on one of my bobbins. So on the when I plied, I got this, which is a 2-ply. You can see the mohair must be the kind of blue-green. I got 446 yards of a 2-ply. I would say sport to fingering weight out of maybe 7 ounces. I don't know. So I'm going to have to kind of weigh and see how many grams are here compared to my yardage. But it's a beautiful, almost natural with then that sheen and that beautiful iridescent blue running through it. So eventually this will be on the website as well as traveling with me probably this weekend on the road. And then I knew I had enough on this other bobbin that I didn't just want to wind it off and throw it away. And because it is a Coopworth and mohair, it's a very strong fiber. Not the softest, but strong. And so I knew it would work well as a single. So I wound off the rest into a skein. It's a single ply. And I got 192 yards of a light fingering weight. You might even consider it a lace, but it's probably a light fingering weight. So I got 192 yards. Again, this will be available on the shop just for, if you want to incorporate a little bit of hand spun into some color work or things like that. So total, I got 638 yards amongst the 2 skeins. So it's been a long time coming, but it's nice to have some finished spinning, especially because I've got none in the shop and none traveling with me, and I say I sell hand spun yarn. I'm just never home to do the hand spinning. But that needs to change a little bit. All right, so what am I going to spin next? Well, don't worry, I use my random number generator because, that's what a type A personality looks like. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I have all my stash on Ravelry, and when I need to cast on or new project or new spinning, I go to my stash. I use a random number generator to pick a number, one between however many stash objects that I have, and it tells me what yarn or fiber to pick. I got all of it because I love it and it's beautiful, so I need to use it, and I don't want to have analysis paralysis where I sit there and think about things way too much, so I just let fate choose what it's going to be. And what the random number generator picked for me is something that I got last year during their birthday sale. I think it was their birthday sale. It was a sale they had. But I got some Into the World Romney in the Possum Ha colorway, which is beautiful grays with shots of brown and red running through it. So I will be putting that on the e-spinner here soon. Again, I will be doing a 2-ply fractal because that's what I always do unless it's a gradient. All right. So let's move on to in the scene shop. My other crafting. Well, because I've been home, I've also been doing a little bit of cross stitch. So first of all, let me show you what this is supposed to be. I meant to pull this out earlier. So I am stitching a Heaven and Earth Designs, One for Sorrow. This is an original artwork by Stephanie Poumon Law. And it is done by Michelle Sayetta. She's the one who runs Heaven and Earth. She's the one who charts all this. And it's going to look like this. Right now, I am working in the upper corner right here, the first page. Super interesting, let me tell you. But I did finish a row, and I promised, because it takes forever to show progress, when I finish a row, I'd show you. So I am doing this 2/1 tent stitch, which just means half stitch. Instead of full crosses, I'm just doing one leg, using 2 strands of the floss over 1 square. And I'm doing that one because I felt like 2/1 looked too bulky and clunky. Not that I'm the best stitcher, but I felt in it goes twice as fast. And Lord knows I'm not a floss conservativist. Conservationist. There we go. It's really not the pank drink. It's really I'm just exhausted. But I do not. I use quite a bit of floss, I feel like, compared to people. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, because I bought for 2/2 or 2/1 full cross, I should be using half that amount of floss, so I should not run out in this kit. But it's funny, you can see some of the squares in there as I work the squares, even though I don't work them complete. I work over and across per color. But so I'm working my way across this way, and then I'll work back this way, but sometimes I work down. You can see I finally worked in a little bit of dark color. That's the bird coming in. And what am I stitching this on? This is what Heaven and Earth or Hade designs are all recommended on, which is 25 count. 25 count is what they call it. This is easy count, which means it's already pre-gridded for me so that I don't have to worry about counting. I know what a 10 by 10 square is. And since it's full coverage, it's going to be completely covered up. I don't have to worry about it being the softest thing, which it's not, but it's not unbearably hard to stitch through. So yeah, there's that. But as you can see from farther away, you can get a little bit more of the detail of all the colors, because believe it or not, there's probably 20 or plus colors in here to get that look. So, but that's where you go. When the finer you go in cross stitch, the more detail you get. So there's that. And then what else have I been working on? I finished some weaving, finally. I have not put anything new on the loom yet. I have to ask Andy. He didn't tell me. He might have gotten me some new lace weight from our yarn supplier for me to dye up. Because I love lace weight. Fingering and lace weight scarves is where it's at. And I have an idea for a fingering weight with some new stash. I did put knitting projects with that new stash, but I'm like, these would go really well together. So I don't know. That'll be the next scarf, though. I want to do a lace weight one next. But this is my Sangria and a Bahama Mama scarf. So this is woven using our showcase base, which has been discontinued. We do have a few skeins in the shop, currently available at 40% off. But it's 100% superwash merino. It's a light fingering weight. While it was fun to weave with, it is not the best warp because it's stretchy because of just merino. It needs some nylon or silk in it. So as I was beating down the fabric, it was having more stretch than I wanted, especially in the beginning. But here it is. And I do a hem stitch on the beginning and end. I like this a lot better. I had somebody come through my booth at one of my recent shows, and they were like, you should try twisting your fringe. And I was like, yeah, I've seen it. I've done it. And I've tried the knotting off. I think this just looks a little more fine. And I don't like the fringe too long, but I like to give you a little bit of color because I usually use a semi-solid that balances. The variegated are multicolored, and so I think it kind of, the fringe balances. But so you can see here, I haven't measured yet how long this is, but it's a nice size. So, woven around here. So this will be available on the website soon. I've got to get finished object pictures taken, and then it'll be on the website and in person at shows. I do have my other previous hand-woven scarves, and I'm getting a little bit better about it. The fingering's pretty nice, and I'm sure as you wear it and you wash it, it'll get a little bit more drapey. The lace that I do, though, just has such drape. But this is not bad at all. So, really, you can see there how nice it is. This has not been washed, but honestly, I don't wash them because I feel like when I wash them, I have to iron them afterwards, and I don't want to. So they come off of the loom pretty well. And yeah, so I will be warping something onto the loom here soon. That's half of it. But yeah, I was super excited to show that to y'all. And yeah, that's what's been going on with my other crafting. So let's move into in the spotlight. What have I been watching and reading? Still watching How to Get Away with Murder, Season 5. Watching The Masked Singer, and I love it. I love it. What I should do is go back and watch last season. That's what I should do. I think I'm going to do that. I don't know why I didn't think of that, because it was not on for 2 weeks due to baseball World Series. I almost said playoffs. Is that right? I don't know. But it was not on for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh. So they aired 2 episodes this week, and I got through them, even though I watched them a day late. And I was like, oh, it's over. I want more episodes. So I'm going to watch last season, I think. Even though I know who most of the people are, I'm still pretty impressed by the performances. And I think this season, because it's now season 2, they've gotten more people with more vocal ability, maybe. I don't know. Also, I've gone back to watching The Handmaid's Tale. Excuse me. Pink Drink has to make an appearance. I'm almost done with season 2, but still in season 2. I haven't started season 3 yet. Andy and I, are watching The Politician, which is a Netflix series featuring Ben Platt, who I could not remember his name last episode. It also has Gwyneth Paltrow, Jessica Lange, as well as many others. Enjoy it. It is produced by Ryan Murphy, so it definitely has that kind of, not Glee in a musical feel, but like that Glee snarky teenager feel. But also, it's not the same at all. So I highly recommend it. Give it a shot if you are subscribed to Netflix. Andy and I finished watching The Great British Baking Show, the most recent season, which just came out on Netflix and finished. They've also now just released The Great British Bake Off Holidays, So we just started that. We're watching the first episode of that as we have dinner, so it takes us a little while to get through that. Oh, and I didn't put it on the show notes because we finished watching at dinner The Good Place, which has Ted Danson and what's her name? Anyway, the girl who plays not Elsa, but the other one. Kristen Bell. There we go. But we really enjoy that show. And I know that this upcoming season is the final season, so that's going to be a little sad. As well as Grace and Frankie, when that new season comes out, that's the final season. It's all right. We find new shows. And I pass them along to you. So, movies that we've watched a few movies in the last week and a half. We watched Eli, which is a new release on Netflix. That's kind of a scary thriller. Child who has a suspicious disease has to go to a really remote place to get cured, with a twist at the end. Pretty good. I would give it 3.5 stars out of 5. We then watched The Favorite, which was a favorite amongst the Academy Awards last year. It won Best Actress, which I find interesting because I feel like the lady who was nominated for Best Actress was not the lead actress. I feel like the two favorites, which were Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz. I feel like they were more the leads, the split leads, but whatever. They were both nominated for Best Supporting Actress. They did not win, but I do feel like they did. I feel like Rachel Weisz did amazing because really we only know her from The Mummy and its sequels, as well as she did a Keanu Reeves movie, Constantine, I think. I don't know of her of anything else, but I feel like she really showed her acting chops in this movie. It was pretty good, pretty interesting, a weird ending, kind of went avant-garde with the ending, but I would give it definitely 4.5 stars out of 5. So that is now available, I believe, through Prime or Hulu is what we watched it through. Then last night we watched Glass, which is the third in the superhero villain trilogy by M. Night Shyamalan, supposedly, which has Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, Ethan McAvoy, is that his name? I don't know. But basically it takes from, I forget the train movie that was like 20 years ago because it was 20 years ago, as well as Split, which has the guy with split personality syndrome, and kind of brings them all together to try to figure out what is actually wrong with them. It introduces Samuel L. Jackson's character back from the Train movie. I'm doing a horrible job of explaining it. It was interesting. It kept us along for the ride yesterday. I'd give it probably 3.5 to 4 stars. So, and then I finished listening to a book. So I got through it relatively quickly. I need to find a new book to download. I should do that tonight. But I finished Generation Z by Peter. I did not do vocal warm-ups before this, obviously. Generation Z by Peter Meredith, and this is a part of the sci-fi zombie apocalyptic genre. I gave this 3 stars. It was okay. I think it's definitely more a YA zombie book rather than a fiction adult zombie. I prefer more tactical zombie books. And after reading reviews, this is the beginning of a Generation Z series. But from what I read, it also picks up from a previous series and starts anew with this new series. So I will quickly here read you the synopsis. So in case you find this interesting, you can check it out. It has a 4.14 rating on Goodreads. And it says, it's been 12 years since the undead hordes swept over the earth, forcing mankind to the brink of extinction. We now live like rats, scavenging in the ruins of our fallen civilization as the dead hunt us night and day. There is little left to scavenge, however. Grocery stores were emptied ages ago, gas tanks have long been dry, and bullets are so precious that a man is lucky to have two to his name. Still, we survive. But for how much longer? Instinct and love had combined to turn Darwin's theory on its head. The strongest didn't survive in this world. They were the first to die, leaving behind a generation of orphans. It's a generation that's never had a full belly. It's a generation that has no idea what an Xbox did or what algebra is for. It's a generation of children who never laugh out loud and who have learned to cry softly because the dead are always near and the dead are always so very, very hungry. So, if that sounds interesting to you, I give a 3-star rating to Generation Z by Peter Meredith. All right, moving right along, let's talk stash enhancement. So continuing our stash enhancement, and I'm still working from the Knitting at the Estate market, which I will be for some time now. There is two vendors that I'll mention right now that Amanda got stash enhancement from, but I do not have to show you. So I want to give them mention. That is Yarn Geek Fibers, as well as now it's escaping me. Ice Melon's Stash. They both were vendors at the market. However, I do not have actual product to show you because Mandy supported them. So the first up are two of my dear friends who are sisters-in-law, and that are the ladies behind Wild Stitchers, and that is Jen and Norleen. Both of their husbands are brothers, and so they're sisters-in-law. And their husband's father does woodworking. So they have been like, hey, if you want to do woodworking, we'll go out and sell it. We'll give you ideas and products and, so that you have a range of products to sell. And they were so generous. With the Knitting at the Estate retreat, they donated swatch gauges inside everybody's goodie bags. And I have picked up a set of interchangeable crochet hooks from them previously, which I haven't used yet because I'm a huge crocheter, but they were beautiful, and you get to pick your hand-turned handle and then the hook. Oh, anyway, this is another... It's probably going to become a candy dish at the studio, but I love it so much, and they said that they were hoping no one would buy it because they secretly wanted to take it. This is a hand-turned wood bowl, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And now that I know the smallest bit about woodworking and how you have to cut and layer all these pieces and then cut the whole bowl out, turn the bowl out, and how much work went into this, you can see their logo there, Wild Stitchers. I am just amazed. So I knew I had to have this. Was not cheap, but they do some amazing other things that you can get. You can get puzzle boxes that turn into yarn bowls. They have yarn bowls, of course. They have mittens, blockers, sock blockers, swatch gauges, crochet hooks, swifts. They donated tabletop swifts to be used at the retreat, so this has been sitting with yarn in it. It is now going to go to the studio so that I can put my afternoon's little candies in there. Anyway, the next up was a new to me dyer. She is, I believe, from Illinois, if I remember from my research of her when she applied to Venn. Excuse me. And this is Doder Fibers. And I believe she's on Etsy. I will link to her on the show notes, which can be found at dramaticknits.com. But I picked up 2 skeins of her 60% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 20% stellina. Yeah, that's a lot of stellina, folks. I picked up a skein of Pretty in Pink and Jet. They are both 400 yards. And I did pair a, I believe, mosaic 2-color shawl to knit with these. And they are going to shine, shine, shine. So, and there's their logo, Doder Fibers. And so it was the first time meeting her and her company. That was really cool to try out her products. And then the next purchase I made, and the last one I'm going to show today, is a project bag from Minnie Moon Sewing. She is local. She's about a half hour south from me. And she, in fact, lives in the town that I used to teach in. And she also sells her bags on Etsy, but she also sells a few of them at my local yarn store. And she does these beautiful canvas drawstring bags with the leather handle. And a lot of hers kind of look fringe-esque, Fringe Supply Company-esque. But this one drew my attention, and I saw it before the market opened, and I said, you know what? I don't know if it's me, but if it's there at the end of the market, I'm going to get it. Because it reminded me of when the sun came over the mansion, which we were holding our retreat in, onto the reflecting pond in front of the mansion. It would glisten into the windows and kind of have this iridescent effect. And it looked so much like this bag. And so I was like, it's going to be a good memory of Kate 2019 without screaming Kate 2019. And so this is the bag that I got. It looks like blue water with like reflections of light in it. And it's got this brown kind of caramel color at the top. It's drawstring with rope. And I've been using it. And it's got, again, the leather handle that only gets better with age. And this is from Minnie Moon Sewing. I don't think I've said that. And it has one major inside, and then it's got a pocket on the inside. It's got one, major bag portion, and it does have an inside pocket, which I keep my notes and my pen in. And there's another acquisition I'll talk about later in there. But I just thought this was really cool, and I don't see something like this all the time. I do feel like even though it's got pinky peaches in it, I could see this becoming a colorway sometime. Maybe. But I enjoy it. I like the bag. And I'm so glad for Minnie Moon Sewing for making it. And I was happy to be able to support her. So those are the vendors I wanted to put a spotlight on this episode. All still from Kate, Knitting at the Estate 2019. Almost to the end of my drink, which means I need to be wrapping this up. Because I gotta make another. Anyway, let's move into what is up for grabs. What's our contest this episode? So, I get a whole nother box from our fairy yarn mother, y'all. She's so generous. And she is always like, could I send you this? And I'm like, when do I ever say no? I have so much prize yarn around me anymore. It's not even funny. But I will always accept prize yarn because I want to give back. And so I always give back. I do some sort of prize every episode. And we are going to start doing some knit-alongs. And I'm going to give away more prizes through that as well. So, up for grabs this week. This came in this week. And because the holiday season is soonly approaching, I thought this was very appropriate. We have 6 skeins of Cascade Fixation, which has been discontinued. This was all the rage when I started knitting. It is 98.3% cotton, 1.7% elastic. So it was really cool for socks because you would have that give in your socks. But I did do a quick search on Ravelry for projects and pattern ideas. And while most of them were socks, there's tanks and tees and different things you can make, headbands. But each ball is 100 yards to 50 grams. So it's about a worsted weight, I would say. According to the yardage, I don't know. But anyway, there's 6 balls, so you have 600 yards of the Cascade Fixation. And it's in a red, white, and green. It does not say the color. The color is 9001. And then our fairy yarn mother also sent these in with the bag. And if you like to make stitch markers or things of that nature, excuse me, we have 12 different holiday charms. These are not already stitch markers, but you can make them into stitch markers or do something fun with them. And those are included with the yarn, so I'm going to send them off so that you can get cracking on some holiday knitting. crafting using the Cascade Fixation as well as the charms. So those are up for anybody who is a member of the Dramatic Knits Ravelry group. All you have to do is post an entry to this episode's prompt onto the thread, which is already up on Ravelry. And the only one post per entry, please, or one post per person. And the prompt this episode is, what's the most interesting piece of art that you've ever seen? So I'd be interested, and if you can find a picture and put that in there, that would be even better, because then we can actually visualize what you're talking about. I don't know. Some of the most interesting pieces of art, the first ones that come into mind are so Midwestern. The Bean in Chicago, but there's also this art installation right by the Bean, which are these big glass towers that have animated like human faces on them, and they're looking at each other and doing facial gestures and things like that. Thought those were pretty cool, as well as many, many other things, but that's kind of what jumps into my head first and foremost. So all right, let's move into Inside the Knitter Studio. This is where you all get to ask me questions in our Q&A thread available on our Ravelry group, Dramatic Knits Video Podcast. And I answer them in the order that they appear. And this episode's question comes from CM Jans. And she asks, how did you and Andy meet, and was it love at first sight? So, we met on a beach, walking across each other. And yes, it was love at first sight. And no. Let's just be real. We met online. That's what we freely will tell anybody. We met online through a dating service, and we went out on a date. And was it love at first sight? No. I was young. He was not my age, and he was not ready to settle down. I was like, ooh, new person. And so I became really clingy, and he was like, eh. And so we continued to see each other, but it was kind of off and on. And then, I don't know, 9 months into seeing each other off and on, I was just like, you know what? I'm in college. Whatever. This is what it is. It is what it is. And so I started backing off. And, lo and behold, you start moving away and backing off, and somebody realizes what they could have had but no longer have. And so then, he swept me off of my feet 9 months later. And not because I was pregnant. Lord knows we keep trying. We can't figure out what's wrong. I don't know. Anyway, met online. Was it love at first sight? No. But I don't know. I don't know if that is true. As I get older, I don't know if love at first sight is actually a true thing. I think cohabitating and maturing together is really what a relationship is about. Being able to be around each other, live in the same space, and be able to mature and discuss and communicate is really what a relationship is all about. So I don't believe in, honestly, I don't believe in soulmates. I don't believe in, one true destiny. Love, life is life. And yeah, so I'm going to get off my soapbox before I keep continuing on with that. But let's keep moving into a round of applause. So let's give away our prize from last episode, which was 4 skeins of Rowan Kid Silk Haze, 3 in cream, 1 in Candy Girl. These are leftover donations from our fairy yarn mother after I depleted the rest of the stash for my plaid please. And it's fitting that we were talking about relationships, because the prompt last episode was, what is the most crucial thing for a healthy relationship, whether that be romantic, friendship, coworker, whatever. And the winner of that was number 28, who is Sonic Freak, and that is Ace from Indiana. And they said honesty. And I think that is very, very true. Honesty was something that had to be learned in my relationship early on, being completely honest with you all. And in terms of honesty. And there's nothing that I would give in this world to have learned that lesson. I'm glad I learned it. I'm glad that that I live my life in an honest way anymore, because where I was as a younger person was not the happiest of me's, and that then exuded itself onto other people, if that made sense. So anyway, Sonic Freak, Ace, you've won 4 skeins of Rowan Kid Silk Haze. Please private message me on Ravelry with your first and last name, mailing address, and email address so I can provide you tracking, and I'll get that out to you as soon as possible. All right, we have some more prizes because I recorded on Halloween last episode and October wasn't over, so I've now pulled for winners for the October 2019 Race to the Finished Object contest. The first up is our physical prize, and I pulled this from our pool of prizes. This is a skein of Serendipity Dye Works King's Mountain Fingering Sock in the Pumpkin Patch colorway, and this is a 75-25 Superwash Merino, 25% nylon, 450 yards. I figured it was very autumnal. So the winner of this was number 27, who is B-Wing, and that's Brittany from Illinois. Congratulations, Brittany, longtime supporter of the podcast, as well as Leading Men Fiber Arts, and she has won several times, but you know what? You are such an amazing part of our community. I am not saddened at all at your win, and I hope you will make something beautiful out of this, and I know you will. And she'll then post it to the Race to the Finished Object contest. So Brittany, again, I don't keep anybody's information, so if you would, shoot me a private message with all your info, including your email address, and I'll get this out to you as soon as possible. And then we have a prize winner for our featured designer, a pattern from our featured designer. And this month is our final month with Jen Lucas being the featured designer. And the winner of that was number 93, V Shaw 7. That's Vicky from Vernon, Canada. And she knit a Missoni Accomplished sweater by Espace Tricot. And it's a beautiful sweater. I've been seeing it all over the place. So congratulations, Vicky. If you would please look at any one of Jen Lucas's patterns. She goes by Jen Lucas Designs on Ravelry. And let me know which one of her giftable patterns on Ravelry. It cannot be published through a book. It has to be giftable. And let me know which one of those patterns you would like. I'll let Jen know, and she will gift you the pattern. So congratulations to Brittany and Vicky, and thank you, Jen, for being our featured designer the last 6 months. That being said, we hope that you post pictures of anything you finish in the month of November into the November 2019 Race to the Finished Object contest. Again, we will have a physical prize as well as a pattern prize from this month's featured designer. We do have a new featured designer who will be featured in the months of November, December, and January, and that is Jessica Brist, who is Snickerdoodle Knits on Ravelry. So thank you, Jessica, for being featured, agreeing to be featured. So she will be giving away a copy of one of her patterns at the end of each month. And that being said, I've posted already on Ravelry, but we are going to start now hosting featured designered knit-alongs. I feel like knit-alongs are a great opportunity for communities to get together and do something cohesive and bring community together and provide chatter and camaraderie and friendship. And I feel like I've really been lacking this past year and a half. Since Callie has moved on and up in the world, and she had to unfortunately leave the Dramatic Knits podcast. She was in charge of knit-alongs for a good while there at the end, and then, with my sister coming and going, things have been kind of up in the air, and my life has been so busy that I just really haven't been thinking of things. But I figured, you know what? If we have a featured designer, we could do a knit-along while they're being featured and knit along any of their patterns or craft along any of their patterns. And it gives me already right there a platform for the knit along and allows us to support the featured designer by purchasing their patterns or, knitting their patterns. And so the Snickerdoodle Knits knit along is the first one of these that we were going to officially do. I've been wanting to do these for years and I just haven't. So we're going to do a Snickerdoodle Knits knit along. It's going to run from November 1st through January 31st, which are the months that she is being featured on the podcast. You can make any of Jessica's patterns, and I've linked to those in the thread on Ravelry. And each finished object gets you entered into the drawing for prizes that we will have. So, sorry if the camera's shaking. I don't have it balanced too well today, but there's one thread. You can chatter and post FOs in that thread. Only FOs will be eligible to win, but I'll keep drawing until we get an FO picture, an FO thread for a winner. But I would love to see all the chatter and FO and people cheering people on. So while Jessica is a newer designer and doesn't have a plethora of patterns to choose from, there are still a handful that we can knit along, and you can make multiples of the same project if you're so inclined, and each project will get you an entry into the drawing. So I hope that you will join us in this first ever featured designer knit along, which is the Snickerdoodle Knits knit along. All right, moving along into center stage, we're going to wrap this up. All things Leading Men Fiber Arts. I do want to let you know that Team LMFA, mostly me, but including everybody else on the team's staff, is working on a new website. So we're hoping to launch that in the next few weeks. It's taking a lot of work. It's thousands of photos, thousands of project listings, but we are going to be moving over to a new website. You won't notice anything different when it moves over, as long as you are going to leadingmenfiberarts.com. Once it is up and live, I will have it transferred over there. But the Leading Men Fiber Arts bigcartel.com will have all of its stock depleted, and we'll have a posting that says go over to leadingmenfiberarts.com. So, but we hope that will be a much more efficient shopping experience, as well as so much more inventory available to you at all times, because we will have all of our inventory, including our booth stock, available to you at all times on the website. That being said, though, shipping may not be as quick if things are on the road with us and we have to wait till we return home to ship it out to you. All right, upcoming shows. This weekend, we are traveling down to a suburb of Dallas, Texas, to Canton, Texas, for the East Texas Fiber Festival. That is November 15th and 16th, this coming Friday and Saturday. We hope you will come out and support us. We are on an end cap right when you walk in. We have a corner triple booth, so we hope that you will come out and see us, say hi. If you watch the podcast, please let me know. And if you wear something Leading Men Fiber Arts, I'd love to take a picture of you and post it to social media. So that's our next show, and then the following week we don't have anything, and I'll be recording again, and I'll let you know about future events at that time. As always, we hope that you will like us on Facebook and Instagram as Leading Men Fiber Arts. We of course have a Ravelry group for Leading Men Fiber Arts. In terms of the podcast, you can find the podcast at dramaticknits.com, as well as the Dramatic Knits video podcast group on Ravelry. And of course, you can always find us on YouTube. So until I see you again in 2 weeks, I hope you knit something dramatic.